meeting was provided and published in the Asbury Park Press on January 6, 2014. Copies of the agenda were provided to the newspaper, posted on public bulletin boards and the Township website.
At this time, I'll ask everyone to please turn off all of your cell phones and ask for roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Here.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Here.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Here.
Councilman Mumolo.
Here.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Here.
Vice President Fosman.
Here.
President Leidecker.
Here.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and our moment of silence.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, we have a few presentations to go through, so we're going to get started right away. Our first presentation today is for the Brick Elks Special Children's Needs Committee check donation, and I'd like to ask Arlene Skolin to please come up, and for the mayor and Councilwoman Zapsik to join me at the podium.
She would like to present you with a check for $300 for the Wynwood Beach Special Needs Children Playground that you made it accessible. She would like to give you a check towards that.
Thank you very much, ladies, for coming in. This is very generous. Hopefully we'll see you Saturday. Okay. Our next presentation is for National Preparedness Month, and I would like Chief Berquist and Joe Palowitz and Joe Gilson to please come up to the podium. We have a resolution and proclamation.
September 2014 is National Preparedness Month, and it's a nationwide effort that's sponsored by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. And the reason for the month is to encourage Americans to prepare for emergencies in their homes, businesses, and schools. Being prepared includes creating an emergency supply kit containing items that will allow you and your family to survive for at least 3 days in the event of an emergency. Developing a plan that addresses sheltering in place or evacuating the area. Staying informed about different threats that could affect your community and getting involved by training in first aid and emergency response. Throughout the year, our emergency management coordinator, Chief Berquist, promotes emergency preparedness by training community emergency response teams and other first responders on disaster preparedness, as well as maintaining the Brick Township Emergency Management Operations Plan. Recently, we had Joe Palowitz, Joe Gilson, and then the chief sat down, and they went over our entire OEM plan with all of the department heads, so everybody knows what to do in the case of emergency. And he also had, they had the same program that Joe Palowitz put on for us with the entire mayor, and the council members, so that everybody knows what their role is during an emergency. So if and when an emergency does happen here in town, our employees, our staff, our council members, myself included, we're all going to be ready and going to be listening to our OEM coordinators. And because of all these reasons, I, John G. Ducey, the mayor of the Township of Brick in the County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim to September 2014 to be National Preparedness Month. Chief?
The council also has a resolution for our Office of Emergency Management and our Chief of Police. And it says, the Brick Township Police Office of Emergency Management throughout the month of September will emphasize that residents take measures to make themselves and their families safe, not only through hurricane season, but all year long. And we do want to thank you for all the hard work you put in all year long to keep our residents and our township safe. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council President. I don't think I need to tell the citizens of Brick since Superstorm Sandy how important it is to be prepared. So to help or further along that preparedness, throughout the month of September, the Office of Emergency Management will be putting up advice and tips and information on how you can make yourself and your families more prepared. And we hope you take advantage of going onto our website, both the Township website, the department website, our Facebook page, and we hope to get a video up on BTV that will further explain to you some of the things you can do to be prepared. So thank you very much.
Okay. Our third presentation is through the Brick Township Water Company and their Watershed Committee. And I would like Rob Carl and Joe Maggio to please come up from the MUA to give their presentation.
Well, first off, I'd like to thank Councilperson Lidecker and Mayor Ducey and the council for inviting us to be here tonight. We appreciate it. My name is Robert Carl. I'm the source water supervisor for the Brick Township MUA. I basically manage the water supply. With me, I have Joe Maggio. He's our director of water quality. We're going to talk to you a little bit tonight, just briefly about Brick MUA's water supply and our watershed management plan. So basically, through the years, Brick MUA has developed what I'd say is a diversified portfolio of water supply options. Essentially, we have the Matiticon River. That's our main source of water supply. Accounts for roughly 70% of our water supply in any given year. This map depicts the Matiticon River and its watershed, basically the area that drains to the Matiticon River. As you can see, this star right here, that's kind of where we are in Brick. And upstream, that 70 square miles encompasses portions of both Monmouth and Ocean counties and 7 towns. In Monmouth County, it's a little sliver of Millstone, a little sliver of Wall, and a big piece of Freehold Township and Howell Township. In Ocean County, we have a big northern portion of Jackson, Lakewood Township, as well as Brick. So our main source, Matiticon, drains from that watershed area. In addition to the river as a water supply source, we have a series of shallow wells. We have a series of deep wells, one of which is it's called an aquifer storage and recovery well. It basically functions like an underground reservoir. And of course, we have the Brick Reservoir. We're actually very excited this year. It's our 10th anniversary, and we're celebrating 10 years since the Brick Reservoir was filled. So basically, having all these sources at our disposal gives us a tremendous amount of operational flexibility. If we don't like a source on a particular day, we can not use that source and switch to an alternate source. And in general, it gives us a great deal of dependability and stability with our water supply. We have a great deal of control over some of our sources of water. The Brick Reservoir, obviously, we own it. We control that totally. If we don't like the water in the river on a given day, we're not going to pump that up to the reservoir. Likewise, wells, groundwater changes very slowly, so I think we have pretty good control over our wells, especially our deep wells. They're 1,800 feet under the ground. pretty well protected from what people do up here on the surface. The Matineconk River is a different animal. You know, if you look at this map, we can't control here in Brick everything that happens upstream. So how do we manage that? Well, we manage that pretty much through partnerships and by collaborating with the upstream communities. And that's really what the Matineconk Watershed Plan is all about. Formerly known as the Matineconk River Watershed Protection and Restoration Plan, we started that project through a grant from the NJDEP, the Department of Environmental Protection. And that grant enabled us to basically take about 2 decades of study and monitoring data and use that as a foundation for working with our other stakeholders upstream in the watershed to put this plan together. Our Board of Commissioners through the years has been very supportive and of water supply protection. In our industry, it's widely held that it's better to protect the source than rely solely on the treatment plant. And we've really taken that to heart and spent a long time protecting our water supply source. And that's really what the watershed plan is all about. So we decided to put together this watershed plan with grant funding. But looking at this area, you know, we can't develop a plan down here in Brick, you know, in a vacuum. You know, this plan affects that whole upstream community. So what we did is, as an initial step, was put together a stakeholder advisory committee. And that committee included representatives from each municipality, representatives from both Monmouth and Ocean County, from the Barnegat Bay Partnership, from various government agencies, developers, environmentalists, universities, businesses, regular citizens. We had over 100 stakeholders in our stakeholder advisory committee when we put this plan together. That committee really guided the plan development process. And ultimately, the result was a plan that's built on consensus. It's broadly supported, and that's really going to help us secure a successful implementation of that plan. The plan was completed about a year ago. In May 2013, we got our formal letter of approval from NJDEP. I'm reasonably confident this is the biggest watershed plan ever to be put together in the state of New Jersey. It encompasses not only upstream of our water treatment facility, but actually downstream to the mouth of the Matineconk. It's 90 square miles in total. It's a big area. So what does the plan say? Well, from a water supply perspective, it says the Matineconk is a very reliable and high-quality water supply source. That's a really good thing for us. However, there is one major overarching problem that the plan does recognize, and that is stormwater runoff. Stormwater runoff affects water quality. Basically, as it rains, small amounts of pollutants are picked up from lawns and driveways and streets and parking lots and carried and ultimately delivered to the Matineconk River. So that affects water quality. It results in increased treatment costs for us, and it also affects downstream areas like our bathing beaches and the Barnegat Bay. Stormwater runoff also affects the way the river flows. In a natural system, you would have, you would say the woods, you'd see very gradual changes, even a torrential rainstorm in how the river flows. But the way we have pipes that channel, that remove stormwater and get it kind of off the site as quickly as possible, results in what I call flashier river flows. So basically recognizing the problems attributable to stormwater runoff, this plan outlines a series of strategies that we can use to address problems and prevent similar problems in the future. In terms of old problems, there's a lot of old stormwater outfalls that collect in water from the roads and streets and pretty much deliver them directly to a stream. Subsequently, we started building basins, and basins help moderate river flows and prevent that flashy river flow, but they do nothing for water quality. So the plan really looks at strategies to use natural processes, things like using plants to cleanse and polish and clean and remove pollutants from stormwater before it reaches our rivers, and maybe even recharge them into the ground, recharge that water into the ground. We live in an area with very sandy soil, so most of the river flow you see in a river comes directly from base flow, and that's the direct discharge of groundwater into the stream. So in our area, recharging stormwater into the ground is very important. In terms of future development, the plan basically calls for strategies such as land preservation and working with upstream communities to ensure that development occurs with careful consideration of our water resources. With the plan being finalized last summer, we've moved into plan implementation. Our grants included funding for implementation of some of the highest priority project sites in the plan. I'll give you a couple of examples of those, but in general, these strategies all rely on natural processes. They're trying to mimic what would happen in nature in our man-made built environment. One example is the retrofit of a normal detention basin, like you'd see in a relatively new development, just a grass detention basin. We're going to retrofit that basin to with a lot of plantings called it's going to become a bioretention basin. Basically, those plantings will help promote the recharge of groundwater and also filter out pollutants. And ultimately, the water that drains from that development will be much cleaner than it is today, and that goes right into the North Branch in our water supply. Another example, we're going to work with a commercial shopping plaza, and we're going to use what's called green stormwater infrastructure. A similar idea, maybe take just a barren, wide open parking lot, break it up, put little cells of bioretention areas, plants to help polish the water that runs off the parking lot full of oil and metals, and recharge it in the ground. Basically, treat stormwater runoff at the source before it hits the Matineconk River. These are all demonstration projects. This is a huge area. So what we're doing is really demonstrating these strategies that work very well, and they've been demonstrated all over the country, but not so much here, a little bit in Ocean County, but we're going to demonstrate them locally, and hopefully they're replicated over time. We're going to chase a lot of grant funding to make this happen. Public education is really a big part of this plan, and so where we do these projects, you'll see a lot of signs and things like that, but the idea is to make people aware, even that their everyday activities impact water resources. So that awareness will help us, achieve our objectives. One other project we're working on, really looking to the future, is we're going to work with the upstream towns, and we're going to develop a model stormwater management ordinance specific to the Matineconk watershed, where we're going to look at building in ways that are more sensitive to water quality and our water resources. And these things can be done pretty easily, and we have all our stakeholders at the table working with us. So this is going to be a very long process. The plan took a few years to put together. Implementations could take decades, but we're going to keep plugging away at it. But we're in a really good place. We have all the upstream communities with us at the table, and we're all kind of working collectively to make this stuff happen. And our end goal is really to preserve the Matineconk as a safe, dependable water supply, and also improve water quality as for the Matineconk, as it is such an important tributary to the Barnegat Bay. I do want to say I appreciate Brick Township's support and commitment of staff to help us working on this project, and we look forward to working with you, for the foreseeable future. Be happy to answer any questions, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in and sharing your time and all of your information with us. We appreciate it. I did have one question. When you were talking about putting the grasses into the parking lot, I couldn't hear what you said that was. For the retentions?
They're you call them bioretention cells. Often it's called green stormwater infrastructure.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to jot that down. Did the council have any questions about it?
No.
Thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you. Thank you.
We do have one more presentation. It's from CME Associates about our Strategic Recovery Planning Report, and Peter Van de Kooi. Thank you. Thank you. Do you have your clicker and everything you need for the presentation?
Yeah, I have my valued assistant here, Megan Stanley, also of CME, and look, I can get started.
Sure, thank you.
Just wanted to provide a brief overview of the Strategic Recovery Planning Report that was adopted by the Brick Township Planning Board on July 9th this year. I wanted to start just by giving also a brief overview of the grant program that's run by the Department of Community Affairs at the state level that actually funded this program. is the Post-Sandy Planning Assistance Grant Program, or PSPAG. The Strategic Recovery Planning Report that was adopted is actually the first step in that, as part of that program. It was funded entirely by a grant from the state, and it enables the township to, thank you, enables the township to actually qualify for additional grants and funding going forward for additional resiliency projects. So it's a key step in moving forward with resiliency and recovery projects. Some of the items that can be applied for now that this plan has been adopted include master plan updates, ordinances, neighborhood revitalization plans, and other plans like capital improvement plans, and additional measures to support the community rating system qualification that the township is currently going for. The purpose of the Strategic Recovery Planning Report is essentially to evaluate the impacts of Superstorm Sandy, serve as a guide for actions taken to recover, and also to reduce vulnerabilities to future disasters. This slide shows an overview of the major sections of the report. And those sections, as you can see, there's an evaluation of impacts of the storm, and an in-depth evaluation of existing planning documents going from the municipal level all the way up to the county and state levels, just to see where they're aligned essentially, and where they're lacking in terms of hazard mitigation, protecting housing, businesses, and infrastructure. This slide shows a brief overview of the evaluation section, which includes, as I mentioned, a summary of impacts to housing, infrastructure, and businesses, as well as a vulnerability analysis. And the vulnerability analysis essentially looks at the potential for sea level rise and also for storm surge events over the next 100 years, out to about 2100. And a little bit later in the presentation, I have a series of 3 maps that shows projected potential sea level rise out over that time frame. This map shows the proposed FEMA base flood elevation maps as they exist today. As you can see, the light blue areas are essentially proposed 100-year floodplain areas. The sort of pinkish hue areas are the inland areas. They're in the X flood zone. They're outside of the 100-year floodplain, and actually outside of the 500-year floodplain as well. One thing I wanted to mention, this is actually a map, the first of the series of 3 maps that I mentioned. But one of the things that makes Brick Township unique is it actually has the most privately owned coastal property of any municipality in the state. There's 53.2 miles of coastal land that's in the township, which makes it unique, not only in terms of trying to plan for storm recovery measures, but also in terms of preparing grant applications and applications for funding. There's really, truly a unique aspect of the town that can actually be an advantage. This map shown right now is the 1-foot sea level rise map that I referenced previously. And you can see in the southeastern portion of the township, there is an area, community, I happen to live down that way. There's a series of roads collectively called Snake Road down there, and I imagine a lot of you are familiar with that area. And the only reason that I call that out is as we go through the series of maps, that is a way, just because the field of view is so distant, you can actually see a little bit more of how things would change in terms of a 1-foot, 2-foot, and 3-foot sea level rise. And I'm just going to step over to the map for a second just to this area down here, which is just south of Baywood Marina. This is the 2-foot sea level rise map. And you can see that area that was previously connected, of course, by Snake Road is now essentially disconnected from it, and this is just during normal tidal events, and this would be at a 2 feet of sea level rise. This time frame for this projection is out 2050, 2060, 2075, so it's quite a ways out there. But this is just one example where that road now is maybe like a foot to 2 foot below the tide on typical days. This is one of the results for low-lying roadways, and this might be the case for certain other roads in the township, but really, based on a pretty detailed analysis, for the most part, the critical infrastructure, being the roadways, fire stations, schools, are outside of the area that's most at risk for future flooding. So overall, there's a positive outlook in terms of infrastructure. And this is the 3 feet of sea level rise map. As you can see, there's even more of what would be a regular tidal inundation in low-lying areas, and you know, essentially there are, however, measures that can be taken to help try to adapt to this potential change. And some of the opportunities to adapt to sea level rise include elevating structures, roadways, and infrastructure above the projected sea level rise, flood proofing, fortification of structures, and structural fortification of structures that cannot easily be elevated, and construction of structures to reduce or mitigate potential flood risks such as dunes. And these can be used to repel floodwaters and actually absorb the wave energy as it comes in. And one example of that might be acquisition of open space in key areas where there's a potential for it to be developed, let's say, to a small degree. However, it might have a higher value in terms of purchasing it to serve as a buffer, essentially, to other development and absorb that wave energy. The next section of the plan includes integration of existing planning documents. This is what I referenced previously about an in-depth analysis of all the different planning documents vertically from the township to the county level, all the way up to the state level. And where they were lacking, we provided recommendations for the township master plan updates and also for ordinance updates. The plan also included a mandatory alternatives assessment, and what we looked at is the no action alternative, which, of course, if the township did absolutely nothing, that would include an ineligibility to qualify for a lot of the grants and funding that's out there. Potential for additional repetitive losses from flooding going forward, as well as loss of tax base if you don't repair existing properties, and other things, as you can see there. The action alternative is, of course, to try to take part in these grants and funding programs, plan for resiliency, and get everything in place to make a full recovery. Final section of the report is the recommendations and implementation strategy section. This includes an analysis of plan documents and reports, ordinances, and other items in order to come up with the recommendations and implementation strategy. And some of the key items that came out of the plan are what you can see up there, and I'll just briefly go through maybe some of the more important near-term items in terms of the community rating system initiative. Might be the adopt a floodplain management plan item under the PSPAG funding program, repetitive loss area analysis, and the hazard mitigation plan element, which could also tie in with those and help support those plans. And in addition, in parallel with those, since part of the analysis would be looking at capital improvements such as roadways, roadway elevations, for example. Snake Road could be elevated to get it above that sea level rise threshold. Capital improvement plan would also be instrumental. And in terms of implementing the strategy, continuing initiative would be to pursue recovery and resiliency grants, seek to become compliant with the community rating system, and look for opportunities for outreach and education to try to coordinate everything that needs to be done. And that's the last slide I have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For the sake of time, we're not going to do questions from the public, but if anyone does have questions, please feel free to call our council office. We'll take down your information and your questions, and we will get back to you with the answers. Same for the council, okay, guys?
Ms. Lydecker,
Yes.
may I just ask one thing? Will this information be available maybe on our township website so those persons that aren't able to be here, because it was very informative? Do you think
Yes,
we can?
I believe it's on the township website, and it was adopted as a technical appendix to the
Right.
master plan, so it should be with the same documentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. So we're going to move right along to our consent agenda because we do have a lengthy one this evening. All matters listed under item consent agenda will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. If discussion is desired on any item, this item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. I am going to do that this evening with Resolution 22. I see a lot of green-shirted parents in the room this evening, and I know they have kids they have to get home to. It's already 7:30. So what we're going to do is review the resolution, open it for public discussion, and then we'll vote on it, and we'll move on to the rest of our consent agenda. So, Mayor, would you like to speak about this since you're at the forefront of it? Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Last Wednesday morning, I came into Town Hall and I was confronted with numerous phone messages about the Brick Memorial marching band practice. During that day, there was a lot of information, some of it misinformation, about anonymous complaints being made, a meeting happening, a rotation agreement which included the baseball field, and band representatives not being involved in the meeting. I went and I attended the practice last Wednesday night, and found that everything wasn't resolved. When I left Town Hall that particular day, before going out to the practice, I thought everything was resolved. Went out to the practice that night, found out everything was not resolved. Matter continued through Thursday. At that point, I thought of a way that the township could help resolve the issue, because we've done it in the past before. We've done it for Walmart, we've done it for the Brick MUA, and a number of other entities. When they come to the council, we can waive the noise ordinance. So that was a way to help out the situation. The school did make the application, and with the help of Council President Lydecker, Township Attorney Kevin Starkey, and many, many others, we've crafted that waiver, which includes both high schools and includes all practices, all rehearsals, all performances, and all festivals, because we want the band to play. We want the kids involved in this program. The arts and music are somewhat forgotten, but they're a tremendous benefit to all of the residents of town, and including, of course, all the participants. The bands are absolutely an asset to our town, and we are very proud of what they've accomplished in the past with all their awards, but we're actually more proud of all the accomplishments that they're going to do in the future, together as a group, as a band, throughout this year and years to come, but also, more importantly, as individuals, as the kids move on to their adulthood and become great citizens and great residents of our great town here in Brick. So I'm hoping that the council passes the resolution here tonight to suspend the noise ordinances for both high school marching bands for all of their practices, rehearsals, performances, and festivals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This time I'll open to the council for questions or comments on the resolution. Okay, and we will move on to the public. Do any of the parents want to be heard this evening on this resolution? Thought everybody would
There's
come
so many
up.
of you.
Ma'am in the back row, would you like to come up? When you come up to the microphone, you need to state your name. Thank you, Mr. Starkey.
Thank you, Counselor.
You just need to state your name when you address. Thank you.
My name is Shannon Christensen. I have 3 children in the Brick Memorial Marching Band. I personally would like to thank the mayor who came out last week to meet the children, hear them play, and for everybody who fielded my phone calls and emails. I'm sorry I flooded your inboxes. But this band is very important to all of those children, to all of us parents, obviously. And while I have some empathy for the neighbors, and I feel for the noise that they call it noise, it's music, that they have to hear, I understand. However, these are 93 children that could be doing far worse than standing on a parking lot and playing, competing. They're learning discipline, they're learning respect. When they're at a competition and there are other teams going to perform, they wish them luck. They tell them they were great when they came off the field. They're the most respectful group of children you would probably ever meet. And they deserve to go back to the routine that they were into. We've been interrupted so many times by the neighbor coming over and stopping performances, by being stopped by the school administration while they figured this out. They need to go back to normal. They need to go back to being the competitive, winning marching band that they are. And I plead with you to please pass this amended ordinance so that they can continue and do what they do best.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Jan Roan, and I have a son who's a senior at Brick Memorial, and he's a proud member of the Marching Mustangs. And I'll be very brief. I just want to say that, you know, any law that prevents a bunch of kids from going out and participating in a marching band is a law that needs to be changed. And, you know, I previously had made a statement that, you know, my son is not a criminal, and I just want to say for the record that none of them are. Because there's been a little teasing going on about that. So none of them are criminals. John, you are not a criminal. Richie, you're not a criminal. So none of them are criminals. And, I sympathize, I can understand the police department having to, enforce the ordinances in town. Like I said, if it's making it an illegal activity for a bunch of kids to go and play their music in a marching band, and I really think it needs to change. And so I really appreciate your support in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sluka, yes?
John Sluka, Sylvia Court, Brick. More questions than anything else, because I knew what was going on. People who play on boat bands, I know stuff like that. But this suspension of this noise ordinance, does this, obviously, for the noise that the band makes, the loudness, maybe not noise, but still makes noise. Are we suspending the time also? Can they play till midnight?
No, it's not suspending the time, it's just suspending the decibel level.
So the 10 o'clock curfew?
Still stands, yes.
If I can address that as well, Council
Yes.
President. The resolution itself sets forth very specific dates and times for the suspension of the noise ordinance. And those dates and times came from the Board of Education for both Brick Memorial and Brick Township High School, when the bands were going to be practicing, rehearsing, performing, and in their band competitions. So that is where it's addressed. It is not. It does not go till midnight. I think the latest is 9 p.m. On some of the practice nights, and the earliest, I believe, is noon on some weekend days.
Okay. and-
Everything that the bands asked for is in this ordinance, covered in this
Yeah,
resolution.
My concern was just, because it sounded kind of open originally, as to how many days and stuff like that. And I guess the schools addressed that issue as to what dates and times and stuff like that.
They told us what they needed, and that's
Yeah.
what they're getting in this
Okay.
ordinance. That's right.
Fair enough, thanks.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Hello, I'm Laura Guida. I am the band president for School Across the Street. Just came out here tonight to support our friends at Memorial. And our kids too practice until 9 o'clock. And we do have neighbors as well. So we try, and I'll just reiterate what was said prior. Our kids are, really respectful kids, and they don't like to hear that they're disturbing anybody. But their practice time is just as important as anybody else in our school activities. And they should have an opportunity to have optimum instruction. So that has to happen at certain times so that we can optimize the use of our staffing. So I would urge you to please pass the resolution. We have a home show coming up on the 4th. We have 22 bands coming, and we'll be done at 9:45. So, we'll work within the constraints of the ordinance, and we hope you'll support us.
Thank you. And if anybody needs a copy of the resolution itself for your own use, you can also contact our council office and they'll send you a copy. I believe you can get it online as well. Any other parents want to be heard this evening? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close public and ask for a roll call on Resolution 22.
If I could get a motion and a second
Oh,
on that.
motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Pontoriero, seconded, of course, by Councilwoman DeYoung.
Councilman Moore.
I'd just like to say I'm glad our administrations, and I see our superintendents with us tonight, members of our Board of Ed are here, and our administration. I'm glad our administrations can work together and get a resolution solved. So I vote yes on this, of course.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes, of course.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Absolutely.
Councilman Momolo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontoriero.
Let the kids play.
Yes. Vice President Cosman.
I just like to say I did play in a band for 4 years, a marching band in Franklin Township, and let them play. Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
President Lidecker,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. Of course, we invite you to stay, but I understand your time constraints with your family, and
It does get exciting.
No trickery, Mr. Momolo. Okay, and we will move on to the rest of the consent agenda, starting with Resolution 1, recognize National Preparedness Month for September. And we also have the presentation with the chief, and we thank him and all of his hard work, along with the Office of Emergency Management. Resolution 2, recognize Brick Township Rotary Dog Fest event. Our Rotary Club works to improve the life of all residents of Brick Township through service, and they host a number of special events throughout the year to raise money to help accomplish their missions. On September 21st, 2014, the Brick Township Rotary Club is hosting our 5th annual Dog Fest celebration at Windward Beach Park with a rain date of October 5th. It gives a chance for all the dog owners to bring their dogs out to the public.
Can't wait.
And all play together. It's going to be a wonderful event, and we always have a great turnout, so hopefully everyone will come out. I don't have a dog, but I still go. It's lots of fun.
You can steal Dagny.
I'll give you my dog this week.
Resolution number 3, recognize Ocean Medical Center's 30th anniversary nominees. On September 18th, the Ocean Medical Center will celebrate their 30th anniversary at a special gala at the Crystal Point Yacht Club to honor Mickey Coles and Richard Epstein. We congratulate them on being honored by the Ocean Medical Center at their annual anniversary gala, and we extend our heartfelt thanks for all that they do for our community. Mayor, did you want to address the Ocean Medical Gala?
Yes, thank you. I just want to say one of the honorees is Mickey Coles. Mickey served on several committees and has been presented with many awards, including the multiple Orion and Polaris Awards and the Kellogg Award for Leadership. And Mickey's been there for 30-plus years. And then also Richard Epstein has been with Ocean Medical Center since May of 2000. He currently serves as the Vice President for Strategic Development and the Corporate Director of Pharmacy. And he's served in many other capacities beyond that, and he's a very important part of the Meridian Health Plan, pharmacy services. And so congratulations both to Mickey and Richard.
Thank you. Resolution 4, recognize the 10th anniversary of the Brick Township Reservoir. Our reservoir has become one of the most popular recreational facilities, not only in our community, but at the Jersey Shore. I'm sure for all of you who have visited there, there's thousands of people that go there every year, and it's a really great place to visit, get some peace and quiet, get some exercise. On September 27th, the MUA will be holding a special ceremony to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the opening, and the public is welcome, and we hope you can join us there. Resolution number 5 is to recognize Hunger Action Month. We do this every year. Unfortunately, there's many, many people in New Jersey, about 1.2 million people in New Jersey, that lives with food insecurity, and that means that they just don't have enough food, and they have trouble finding where their next meal is going to come from. And it's estimated that about 400,000 of those people are children. There's about 900,000 people living below the poverty line, and of course, that's probably one of the main reasons why they don't have access to a secure food source. To assist these families, the Monmouth and Ocean County Food Bank services thousands of people every day to make sure everyone knows where their next meal is coming from. We ask that you please donate to them and help out your neighbors here in Brick Township. There's a few different food banks here. The most prominent one, of course, besides the Ocean County Food Bank, is the one at the Visitation Relief Center down on Mantoloking Road. Resolution 6, authorize Chapter 159 for our local arts grant. This is to approve the insertion of an item of revenue in the 2014 budget for $1,500. It's available through the Ocean County Advisory Council for the local arts. Resolution 7, authorize Chapter 159, Pump Out Boat Grant 2014. As you know, every year we get about $10,000 to operate our pump out boats through our brick waterways, and there's an additional $10,000 available that we're asking to be inserted into the budget. Number 8, authorize receipt of bids, aggregates, and asphalt. This is a standard 2-year contract used mainly for roadway materials, including paving and drainage, ball field clay, sand and stone. This contract is going to expire February 16th, 2015. We spent just over $50,000 so far under the current contract, and we need to go out to bid to renew the contract. Number 9, authorize receipt of bids for truck, bus, trailer, and equipment spring repairs. So far, we spent about $19,000 during this 2-year contract. This is set to expire on March 15th. We now have the contract through R&H Spring of Wall Township, and again, we just need to renew our bid, or go out for bid to get a new contract, I should say. Number 10, authorize receipt of bids for purchase and delivery of 2 police motorcycles. We do have 2 ancient motorcycles that need to be replaced for the police department, and they're used for various assignments, including funerals, parades, and traffic enforcement, and this is coming out of the 2014 capital budget. Number 11, authorize receipt of bids for janitorial services. The bid includes services for the municipal complex, the civic center, Department of Public Works, senior center, Drum Point Complex Office, Cultural Arts Center, and the EMS Annex. We currently use All Clean Building Services. The contract ends on January 31st, 2015. We've paid about almost $96,000. We will still owe about $36,000 from July to January, whereas in January we will have a new contract. Resolution 12, authorize receipt of bids for the purchase and delivery of powered EMS stretchers. As part of the 2014 capital project, the police department requested a total of 3 stretchers. It will also include a line item for allowance to trade in 2 stretchers. Number 13, authorize receipt of bids, debris disaster cleanup. As we all know, when Sandy hit, we were not exactly prepared for something like that, and there was no contract in place. The administration now has the foresight to realize that in the future, we will need some kind of contract in place in case any type of natural disaster hits, so we will be prepared. Mayor, did you want to address this?
Thank you. Unlike the band ordinance, which we hope is used a lot, this is one resolution that we're hoping is not used at all. But we do need to go out and have people bid on the disaster debris cleanup. A real important reason for that is because what we had with Sandy, we had snow removal contracts in place with a number of different construction companies. And that's what we used as far as removing debris. And of course, FEMA comes in as Monday morning quarterbacks and said, oh, you're using a snow removal contract. That doesn't make any sense. You should have had a debris removal contract. So going in hand with National Preparedness Month, the OEM with the chief being the leader of that, as well as Glenn Campbell, our Director of Department of Public Works, and our business administrator being parts of that, says, let's go out, let's get bids now in case something happens. Hopefully it never does, but we'll have our professional contractors out there lined up with a great rate to help us clean up again if something like that ever happens again, which I hope it doesn't, of course. Thank you.
Number 14, authorize award Stanford Township Co-op rock salt contract. It's being awarded to Atlantic Salt. It's a unit price not to exceed $500,000 per year, and it is a 2-year contract beginning July 20th, 2014 to July 19th, 2016. It will be $68.85 per ton being delivered to our site. So far, well, last year, I should say, we spent $375,575.95 with international salt. This is a pretty decent price. We got it through the Stanford Township Co-op, which usually lets us get our items for a little lower than what we would bid out ourselves. Number 15, authorize award alternate process contract Aegis GIS service. It's awarded to New World Systems to provide professional services in accordance with the provisions for the GIS system as detailed in the proposal in the amount of $95,400. The company provides the Township Data Processing Department with data review, administrative review training, and GIS address re-verification. It's utilized by Public Safety for their CAD, records and mobile system, and it's a pretty decent system so far. I don't think the chief has any complaints about it. Number 16, authorize HGAC buy purchase of rapid deployment vehicle for the police department. The contract is awarded to Chastang Enterprises, doing business as Chastang Ford, in the amount of $63,711. Number 17 is being put on hold. Number 1, we didn't receive all of the backup for it, so we didn't have enough time to review the shared service agreement. This will most likely be on the next agenda. Number 18, authorize exchange of equipment with the Brick Township Board of Fire Commissioners. The EMS has a trailer that the fire commissioners can use and vice versa, so they're just trading a piece of equipment between the two departments. Number 19, authorize various agreements with Brick Standard LLC Landfill Redevelopment Project, and I'm going to ask Mr. Starkey to review this resolution for us.
Yes, thank you, Council President. This resolution relates to the solar project that has been placed on the old French's landfill, the old municipal landfill up off Sally Ike Road. It is very close to completion. These amendments are necessary for us to get to the final financing agreement. And what they do, the amendment to the redevelopment agreement benefits the township by reducing the price at which we buy electric from the solar project from 9 cents a kilowatt hour to 8.5 cents a kilowatt hour. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot when you spread it out over the amount of energy the township's going to purchase, and it will carry out for 15 years, that savings. It also confirms that the redeveloper will be posting cash or a letter of credit in order to ensure that their repayment obligations for the bonding are going to be secure. We're also putting in front of you for approval a second amendment to ground lease. The landfill is owned by the township. It's being leased to the developer for purposes of the solar project, and this confirms that at the end of the solar project's 15-year term, that this ownership of the solar facility will be transferred back to the township at a price that will be either zero or nominal. And the reason for that is the solar project is estimated to have a life of 25 to 30 years. The developer will own it for 15 years. After that, the township will get it back and then have somewhere between 10 and 15 years of essentially free energy coming out to supply all of the township's needs for electricity. So those are both in front of you for approval tonight. If those are approved, I think that the latest estimate I got was that the solar field would be plugged in and producing energy, we believe by October 1st. I think that's the latest date we got. So the township will at that point be receiving most of its electrical needs from the solar project.
Thank you very much. Number 20, authorize user agreement with Brick Fitness Civic Plaza. As you know, we have a few empty storefronts at the Civic Plaza, which is a building that we own outright as a township. And we desire to enter into a user agreement to allow Brick Fitness for Women the limited use of a portion of the property for a period of 10 weeks at a fee of $1,500. There are a few terms. Number 1, a term of 10 weeks. Number 2, total use of the unit for 5 one-hour fitness classes per week, 1 per day. Number 3, total use for the fee is $1,500. Number 4, an obligation on the part of Brick Fitness for Women to be responsible for any damage to the unit during its time of use. Number 21, I am actually happy that this is one of the stores going in. Authorized lease agreement with Brick Children's Community Theater at the Civic Plaza. The terms of the proposed lease to BCCT include number 1, a 2-year term commencing on October 1st, 2014. Number 2, annual rent in the amount of $19,500, payable on a monthly basis. Number 3, CAM charges in the amount of $196.25 per month. And lastly, a proportionate share of the property taxes paid by the tenant unless tenant attains tax exempt status. Number 23, authorized Rotary Club pet-friendly event at Windward Beach Park. Normally, we don't allow animals at the beach, and what this resolution does is waive that and say, yes, of course, you can have Dog Fest with the dogs at the beach. Number 24, authorized tax liens for property cleanups at Public Works. There are a few. 138 Van Ard Drive, $60.23. 533 Central Avenue, $2,236.24. 18 White Pine Court, $176.63. 1666 Route 88, $1,385.76. 1265 Old Farm Road, $90.36. 827 Constitution Drive, $90.36. Number 25, authorized special events permit for EakFest. This is to approve the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation's request for special event application to conduct EakFest on October 17th and 18th. with the conditions restricted. This is actually a really great event for those of you who have not been able to go. It is fun for people of all ages and, of course, children. They have a really great haunted walk in the back. They have food and games and dancing in the front building, and there's music outside and different food vendors, and it goes to a really great cause. All of the money that is collected is donated 100% back to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and the entire event is run by volunteers. So if you can make it out, that would be just wonderful for their cause. Number 26, bond release and reductions. A, inspection fund release. There's $443.38 remaining in the engineering inspection fund from Lee Ann Lewing for Cuddy Hunk Road and Oceanfront Terrace in the Township of Brick. The engineer says that their project is finished, they've met all the requirements, and recommend that we return the money. B, there's $332.76 remaining in the engineering inspection fund from Property Owners Association of Bretton Woods. The engineer has advised that all the required improvements have been completed, and we return the money to the applicant. C, there's $750 remaining in the engineering inspection fund from Erie Petroleum. Again, our township engineer advised us that all of the required improvements have been made, and we return the money. 27, tax collector A for 16 Keats Road in the amount of $642.68. This is for 100% disability vets that has been granted. Number 27B, again, 100% DAV has been granted for 66 Queen Anne Road in the amount of $5,446.49. And C, redemption of tax sale certificates at block 1088.80, lot 17, account number 519678, certificate 2014-382. That is the end of our consent agenda. Call an motion to end the consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Moore, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. I'm going to open to the council first for any questions and comments regarding the resolutions, with the exception of number 22 and 17. Seeing none, I'll, yes. You gotta be quicker than that.
I had to look and see where I was. Just real quick on 414, the Stafford Township Co-op.
Yes.
That is, for the business administrator, that is, I know it's $5.12 more than last year, but we do go in to get the best rate. That's why we're in the co-op, correct?
Yes, that's why we're in this particular co-op, economies of scale, and the pricing was from our prior 2-year contract.
Okay.
This is again renewing a 2-year contract. The vendor was different last year, but it was still part of the same co-op process.
And hopefully we won't need a lot of salt.
I hope so.
Was that all, Councilwoman?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Anything else?
One little point.
Okay.
I just wanted to point out on items number 20 and 21, the lease agreements between the Brick Fitness and the Brick Children's Community Theater. I was very happy to see some very good indemnification clauses and requirements for the licensee liability insurance. So I thank Town Council for including those very important provisions to protect our town from any potential liability while earning money. Thank you.
Thank you. It's the first time I've ever been complimented on indemnification. And liability.
Only a lawyer would compliment you on that.
Yes.
I just want to add on both of those, 20 and 21, is that there's no longer a mortgage on Civic Plaza, so any lease money we bring in, that's going straight to our surplus balance, which is excellent. And we're trying to lease every space in there, so if anybody knows any businesses that wants to move over there, please have them call Mr. Brazaris and Ms. Bergen. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no more from the council, I will open to public on the consent agenda, except for number 22 and 17. Did anyone from the public wish to be heard this evening? Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Council President. Staying with 20 and 21, what is the difference in the space of what 20 is using to 21? The reason I'm asking, 20, which is only a use, we're only charging like $600 a month, but here we are, as the mayor said, I'm for arts and culture, and it seems to be for a nonprofit, and we're hitting them for like $1,800 a month. Not that I don't want the revenue, but again, it seems to be for a good cause. Why the disparity?
Joanne, would you, or the mayor, would you like to take
Yeah, I'll
that?
take it. It's the Brick Fitness is only renting, the big gym area that we use for all our recreation programs, senior programs and all that, they're using that for programs when our recreation department is not using it.
So it's a
So
dual
it's,
purpose
it's
for them.
dual, yeah, it's a dual purpose. It's not, they're not getting their own space. And they don't get to keep anything there, you know, that type of thing.
Okay.
Hour at a time.
It's 1 hour a day. The classes are 1 hour a day for use by Brick Fitness. The Brick Children's Community Theater is having exclusive use. They're leasing their space. It's going to be their space. That's why the difference in price.
That's fine. Okay. More serious, 419.
Mhm.
Here we go. I read the resolution, quite involved. Tried to do my homework with some of the reading. Don't have a law degree, that's why I'm probably going to have a lot of answers from our counsel. But reading the resolution where it's stipulating and already Kevin gave an answer. One of my questions was, what was the difference in price that we got as compared to what we're getting? So it went from 9 cents down to 8.5 cents.
That's right.
However, what I object to, and what the previous administration did, and was not in the best interest of the taxpayers, is you put an escalation clause of 3%. If you take that 3% in, at the end of 3 years, you're going to be back down, right back to the 9.1 cents. So 3 years out of 15 is in a very long time. Make it 8.5 cents for 15 years. The guy's making money. Chances are SRACs probably go up on demand once legislature changes. I just don't see that working in our favor. So I will expect an answer to that, and that was in Exhibit C. And when I looked in Exhibit C, that's what it amounted to. Furthermore, with Exhibit C, one of the big things in this loan and going back and forth, this borrower is going to put up a letter of credit. Being in business a long time ago and a purchasing agent many years ago, there are different types of letter of credit. Is this going to be an irrevocable letter of credit? Because as you read on, there are loopholes where he can change the letter of credit. I just don't want to have anywhere where we're going to be left holding the bag, because there's a lot of mention of default and so forth and so on. So two of the things I would consider is, in 3 years, you're back to where you were before as far as the cost is going, not a big savings as far as the people on this end are concerned. Again, looking at the resolution, one of the end paragraphs refers to Exhibit D. Exhibit D is the Second Amendment to the ground lease. There I have another kind of thing that I'm worried about. When this all started, and this was a 15-year agreement, we were told at the end of 15 years, we own what's there. Now, all of a sudden, we're not going to own what's there. We're going to have to buy this equipment at the end of 15 years. That wasn't the original plan. Where did this come forward, that we're going to be paying for this at the end of 15 years? I just don't see that. I just don't see that. Even though Kevin said, well, it's going to amount to maybe nothing, maybe something, it's in there protecting the borrower, not protecting us. Protects us if he defaults. Truthfully, if he's defaulted in 2 years, we're way ahead of the game. However, at the end of 15 years, it's not a good agreement, in my opinion. I mean, if Township Council can convince me otherwise, I could see you changing your vote that way. But all along, we were told we own this for free. Now this says we don't own this for free. Why not?
Would you like to address that, Mr. Starkey?
I'll try to start from the beginning and go right to the end.
That works.
The decrease from 9 cents to 8.5 cents, you pointed out there's a 3% escalator clause annually. You said in 3 years we'll be right back to the 9 cents. That's not exactly accurate. There is a 3% escalator clause. That's not changing. That was in the original agreement. The original agreement was entered into in December of 2011, and the price in there was 9 cents per kilowatt hour with a 3% escalator clause. My point was that we're changing that initial price from 9 cents to 8.5 cents. The 3% escalator, frankly, I agree with you. It's not something I would like to see in there, but it's already in there. so that we're not getting back to where we were in 3 years. With that lower initial start rate, we're seeing a savings over the course of the 15 years, consistent with the initial reduction.
Of how much?
0.5 cents from.
I mean, dollar-wise, do we have the end?
Oh, I can get that for you, but I don't have that off the top of my head. I can get you based on our historical usage of electricity, but I don't know those numbers off the top of my head. The letter of credit, I absolutely agree with you on that. It's got to be irrevocable. The letter of credit is subject to approval by the township, and that's something that it has to be irrevocable. That this developer has an obligation and will be held accountable to put security up for a full year of payments, and that has to be an irrevocable letter of credit. And if they don't agree to that, it'll have to be cash. So that is an
Can you
absolute.
change that wording then, make it that way? 'Cause it
Well, I
doesn't
believe
say-
it already says subject to our approval. So it will be irrevocable, and if not, it will be cash. The point you made about the Second Amendment to ground lease, the reason that the fair market value is in there now, it was not in there originally, was because the developer was originally entitled to tax credits. They realized later that the tax credit right requires, for IRS purposes, that at the end of the term, that the property be purchased back by the township. Otherwise, they don't get the tax credits because they have to own it to get the tax credits. The way fair market value is defined in here, I don't know if you went through it.
I did.
But it's defined as the value of the revenue for the rest of the useful life of the system minus any new inverters that are going to be at a cost of 50% per watt and the removal costs. That's taken out to calculate fair market value. Our consultant has run parameters using every conceivable price that would come out of the future useful life, and the fair market value at the end of this will be either a negative number or zero. So that is essentially, it's a fictional amount, but it's in here so that the developer can get the tax credits that we originally agreed to. Something we have to put in there, but it will not cost the township anything at the end of the 15 years to actually get this back. It's just something we had to put in this agreement to enable them to get what we originally agreed to under the original agreement. If that
Okay.
makes sense.
That makes sense. But with that said, whoever this consultant is, 15 years down the road, hopefully he's still around, because if he made a mistake, and I'm sure you have this in writing, we can hold him responsible. Is that right or wrong?
Sure.
If he's around.
If he's around, we can hold him responsible. I'm confident.
I'm just worried
in
about,
his-
at the end, the way it's worded, we're gonna have to pay. That wasn't the idea of this whole scenario.
And it's not the idea now, that is why the fair market value has been, the formula has been carefully put together so that there are substantial reductions off the value calculated by the future useful life of the
Okay,
project.
So the last big question I have is the fact that you had the ability to negotiate with the redeveloper and lowering the amount that we're gonna pay per kilowatt from 9 to 8.5. Why couldn't you get the escalation clause removed completely or negotiate that to the cost of living or some other lower number than 3? Because again, in 4 years, we're right back to where we were before. I didn't understand it that way at the beginning. You know, if we were gonna pay X. I didn't even know that there was a 3% in there to start with, but that makes it even worse.
I can say this, we had very little room to negotiate. This deal was put together in December of 2011. Frankly, none of the people sitting up here or the mayor or I were sitting here when this was done. And the developer made, at the time, an upfront payment of, I think it was $2 or $3 million. And the deal was struck, and it was approved then, and it was signed up then. So we are now at the end of the process where we're just going to final issuance of bonds and other details where we really don't have a lot of room, a lot of leverage to negotiate a different deal. We did the best with what we had presented to us, and we're able to get that 9 cents down to 8.5 cents. I agree with you, it's not a huge change, but we're doing the best with what we have in front of us.
Why does it still say, subject to further amendments from time to time? If what you're saying, then what other further amendments are going to be written to these?
Well, I don't anticipate any right now, but
Okay. It just
these are-
leaves it open-ended?
No. I think what it means is we're in agreement with the developer, and if changes are necessary and they're reasonable, and they come in front of this council, and the council sitting here approves them, then it will be amended. It doesn't obligate us to agree to any amendments in the future. It's just sort of a,
Okay. And some of the pages were left blank, like for assets.
Mr. Scott, I'm sorry, we are well into the next 5 minutes. I have
Okay.
to ask you to take your
But this is
seat.
part of a resolution. This is 5 minutes of public time. I mean, you
Okay.
should differentiate that. Just to clear
Okay.
this up, you leave pages blank, and it says list the assets of the borrower. They're not listed. I'm just figuring or wondering what they're worth that we are protected. They have to be worth X. He borrowed a lot of money, so it would be, I would assume it's close to the money that he's borrowing in total, let's say $20 million minus, operating expenses and whatnot. Do we know that?
there were a number of exhibits. I know you asked about this before. A number of exhibits to this resolution and the amendments, and they're fairly thick. The reason they weren't attached only is because they're fairly thick, and frankly, it's difficult to read them even for a
I could
lawyer
read
or
thick.
just for anything. They are available in the clerk's office for anyone to come and review publicly. They just were not attached to the agenda.
Okay. So Lynette has those in her office?
I think Lynette or Jen, I'm not sure. Right.
Jen doesn't have it. I know that.
The exhibits are all, they were sent over. They're
Some blank ones.
I'm
There
sorry?
were some blank ones.
There were some blank exhibits. I'll make sure the exhibits are at your office tomorrow morning. I thought they were all transmitted there.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President, just if I may, thank you. Just give a little preview, because this will really probably get you next meeting. I plan on having a little presentation. Last year about this time, there was 4 of us who were up there, and we had passed an amendment to this to change the terms, and the former mayor never signed that, so it never became binding. I did sign it as soon as I became mayor, but it's not enforceable, unfortunately. And I'm safely saying that we lost about $1 million because that was never signed, and it may be more, but I'll have the exact numbers after the sale happens. So, I didn't say it was going to make you happy. I just said it's going to be a preview of next week, and it's something you're going to want to talk about.
Thank you. Is that next week or at the next council meeting?
Next council meeting.
Thank you.
It's after the sale of the bonds have to happen, because we need to have that last interest rate, and then we can have an exact number to pinpoint it to the dime.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Brando?
Hello, everyone. Dominic Brando, 12 Commodore Drive. Just piggybacking on what George was saying and what the mayor was saying, when we originally did it, and even when we tinkered with it a year ago, 2 years ago, a couple times, when Standard Alternative came to us, like I said, there were four of you that are still here and us. It was ironclad. I guess that's the question I was waiting for Mr. Scott to ask, but he didn't ask it. It was ironclad that no way at any point would it cost the township any money. Do we still have that, Council President, if we go
Yes.
to the attorney?
They're still the backers.
We still have that. There's no way that,
Yeah, what the mayor was talking about is that the developer is obligated to repay the debt. The debt is a township's debt. It's got to be repaid over 15 years, and the developer is obligated to repay that. Under the agreement as it exists today, the developer will pay all that and will pay it on a pass-through basis, meaning if the township goes out and sells this debt and gets, let's say, a 3.8% interest rate, that's what the developer will repay. The agreement that was approved, I don't know if it was I think it was 2 years ago, set that rate at 4.5%. In other words, the developer would have repaid the town 4.5% interest plus the principal on the debt. Now the township's going to get, I expect it'll be somewhere around 3.7 or 3.8% repaid to the township, the amount that the bonds sell at. So that gap between 4.5% and 3.7 or 3.8 is what the township is not getting paid to it by the developer. It is not a out-of-pocket loss to the township. It's just money, it's revenue that would have come in that is not now going to come in. So that's what the mayor was describing. We don't have those exact numbers because We won't know the interest rate until the bonds are actually sold out on the open market, but I'm fairly confident it will be significantly below the 4.5% that was set a couple of years ago.
Okay, in the event that the SRECs drop, he won't be coming back to us that he's losing.
The SRECs are the developers'
They're all his-
benefit
still
or
his
loss.
responsibility?
Whatever they are the developers. It does not concern us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard this evening? Seeing none, I'll close the consent agenda and ask for roll call, please.
Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik?
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Ponterero?
Yes.
Vice President Fosman?
Abstain on 4-4 and yes to the rest.
President Leidecker?
Yes. Moving on to number 28, bill resolutions, computer 2014.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurer for the amounts of the same. Computer bill resolution in the amount of $8,466,170.95.
Thank you. Motion and second.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Ponterero, seconded by Council Vice President Fosman. I'm going to open to council for questions and comments on the bill resolution.
I have a
Yes, Mr.
question.
Mumlo.
Page 7, there's comment management. Not a lot of money, but I'm not quite sure. Snow reimbursement.
Climate management is actually Laurelton Woods, and this is part of the Municipal Services Act where we have to reimburse. There's a formula that we use to reimburse private communities that do their own snow plowing.
Laurelton Woods?
This is Laurelton Woods, yes.
Okay. I think that's all tonight.
Okay. I did have a question, though, about the school taxes. I know at the last few council meetings, and this is going a little off topic of the bill resolution, we were discussing if we were going to reach out to our New Jersey state legislator about how property taxes are provided, and, you know, when people get property tax relief, we have to give out rebates. Has there been any movement or response?
We're still waiting to hear back. There's some legislation that's actually already pending, but it's not really moving its way through the representatives.
Okay.
So.
And again, a little off topic, but this is a conversation that I was having with another member of the administration, and from what I understand, they are no longer providing security at their special events. Is that now a cost that we will have to pick up as a township?
We're working on that as well.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you
Yep.
very much. That was my only question on the bill resolution. Any others from council? Okay, seeing none, I'll open to public. Mr. Scott?
First of all, about all of the bills, I had numerous questions, but again, I do try to come in early, so make the meetings a lot shorter. I do have to thank the business administrator for answering probably 90% of them, getting back to me. If she doesn't have the answer, she definitely gets to where the answer can be found and emails me, so I am appreciative of that, just as she gets back to you. With that said, on pages 6, 14, and 24, come to big numbers regarding prescription, health benefits, payment for services rendered by New Jersey Blue Cross Blue Shield. I did talk to Joanne about this. Again, over the course of years, not only with you people up there, with prior people up there, I'm always cost conscious. And the fact that you have a broker, I would like you, and I believe the business administrator agrees, that down the road, we really do need an RFP to go out for brokers, that we don't keep doing business as usual, to make sure that we are getting the best bang for a buck. So I would like you all to consider that when the time comes, that, you know, you put that out there way before. We don't wait to the last 3 weeks to go out, because it's probably the biggest number that we deal with. So if you would take that into consideration, I would really appreciate that. Last but not least, the bill for Mr. Starkey Keneally.
I
went over-
question that every month.
Say again?
I question that one every month.
I gotta say, puts in a bill going back to April, you mustn't need the money as fast as other people do, but it was well done, I gotta say. So, you should be. But think about that as far as health insurance, okay?
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions about the bill resolution? Seeing none, I'll close public and ask for a roll call.
Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik?
Abstain on New Jersey press media, and yes to the rest.
Councilman Mumalo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero?
Yes.
Vice President Fosman?
Yes.
President Leidecker?
Yes.
Thank you.
Number 29, Bill Resolution Manual 2014.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurer for the amounts of the same. Manual bill resolution in the amount of $1,493,679.95.
Thank you. Motion and second, please.
Make a motion?
Second.
Motion made by Council Vice President Fosman, seconded by Councilwoman Pontorero. And open to council for questions, comments. Seeing none, I'll open to public. Seeing none, I'll close and ask for roll call.
Councilman Moore?
Abstain on township payroll, and yes to the rest.
Councilwoman DeYoung?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik?
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero?
Yes.
Vice President Fosman?
Yes.
President Leidecker?
Yes. Number 5, on the agenda, we do have a few different ordinances on first reading. Right now, there is no public comment on first reading, but you can always come back to the next council meeting and state your comments and questions and concerns at that time. Number 1, amend Chapter 168, Engineering Permits and Standards.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing the Township Code of the Township of Brick so as to amend Chapter 168 entitled Engineering Standard Permits and Standards.
Thank you. The changes that we are addressing is in regards to docks and bulkheads. Sometimes private docks and bulkheads become unsafe, they start to come apart, and they affect the properties around them, and they become dangerous and a nuisance. Right now, only a police officer can come out and write a ticket or a summons for somebody to fix their dock, and as you all know, we have some problems in Brick that our police are more suited to attend to besides writing tickets for broken docks, such as crime. The main part that we are changing now will, when this passes, allow for the construction official, the chief of police, the township engineer, or their assigned designee to have the jurisdiction to enforce the provisions of this chapter. So if they receive a complaint from someone, they can, the construction code official, the engineer, the designee, or the police chief can now go out, inspect it themselves, and frankly, nothing against our police department, but an engineer or the code official, I think, would better be equipped, better equipped to handle something like this and explain to the homeowner what the problem is and how they can go about fixing it. Motion and second, please.
Make a motion? Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman DeYoung, seconded by Council Vice President Fosman. And roll call, please.
Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik?
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero?
Yes.
Vice President Fosman?
Yes.
President Leidecker?
Yes. Number 2, amend Chapter 225, Housing Standards, Fees.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 225 of the Township Code of the Township of Brick entitled Housing Standards.
Thank you. And I'm just going to read the part that we are amending. The owner of the inspected property shall be charged a fee of $100 for the initial inspection for each separate leased or rented unit inspected for the purpose of renting. A fee of $50 for each separate leased or rented unit that is to be re-inspected will be charged to the owner. The fee will be paid to the construction code official prior to the inspection or re-inspection. Units that are leased or rented on a seasonal basis by the week or month shall require only one inspection at the beginning of the season. Motion and second?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Zapsik, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik?
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo?
Abstain, 5-2.
Councilwoman Pontorero?
Yes.
Vice President Fosman?
Yes.
President Leidecker?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 3, authorize acceptance of the donation of properties, Block 637, Lot 29, Harvey Estate, and Block 977, Lot 1, Bancroft Homeowners Association.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, and State of New Jersey authorizing the acceptance of the donation of property for no consideration.
Thank you, and these properties are being donated to the township. Motion and second, please.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call. Motion made by Councilwoman Pontorero, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore?
I have a quick little question. Are these considered on the Green Acres properties, or can we use them? I mean, I vote yes, but I just wanted to say, can we vote, can we use these for Green Acres by any chance?
I believe one is. The
Okay.
second, I would have to double check. I
That's
don't
fine,
have
but
it
I
in
vote
front of me.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik?
Yes.
Councilman Momolo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero?
Yes.
Vice President Fosman?
Yes.
President Leidecker?
Yes. Number 4, authorize acceptance of the donation of properties, Block 245.20, Lot 29, Carrie B. Laffrey, and Block 1025, Lots 5 and 10, William Rathjen.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, authorizing the acceptance of the donation of property for no consideration.
Okay. These two properties, the property owners would like to deed the properties to us. They are on the foreclosure schedule, so eventually they will come onto our roll anyway. It's just for the sake of expediency and financial reasons, we are going to accept the donation instead of go through the court system and have to pay lawyers' fees and court fees to get the foreclosed properties back onto our roll. Motion and second?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Pontorero, seconded by Council Vice President Fosman. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik?
Yes.
Councilman Momolo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero?
Yes.
Vice President Fosman?
Yes.
President Leidecker?
Yes. Thank you. Number 6, public comments. Please note that each person addressing the council during any section of the meeting during which public comment is permitted shall limit his or her remarks to 5 minutes pursuant to the Brick Township Administrative Code, Section 2-33B. Yes, Ms. Call, would you like to come up?
I'm back. Good evening. Nan Call, 18 Greenbrier Boulevard. On the way over here tonight, I happened to pass the renovated motel next to the Brick Diner. And I started thinking about the fact that 6 years ago it was, that there were presentations by 3 developers for the Food Town property. Each one consisted of offering a small hotel. In particular, I was interested in the one that offered the Marriott Courtyard. This time, I have just returned from a national convention that was held in Orlando. That time, I had returned from the same organization's convention in Kentucky and was extremely happy with the Marriott Courtyard I stayed in. I know that earlier this year, there was some discussion about Jack Morris, who is, as far as I remember, currently the developer that is supposed to be assigned to the pilot program. However, I think his time has long since run out to do what he had promised 6 years ago, and that what he asked for was not widely accepted by the people of Brick Township. I'm wondering what's happened. When I first moved here to Brick, the discussion centered on the property behind the post office that had been purchased by the township, I believe. Yes, by the township. And there was going to be sports and conference arrangements there. Then it was sold. Well, it was sold after the Food Town property, which Jack Morris had purchased. Then Mayor Scarpelli, in agreeing to the complaints by the people that worked at St. Thomas School, bought it in the name of the township. Then they sold the one behind the post office. And now here we are. All these years, there was also in the interim a plan which I really supported. And I know all the complaints and claims that it was Mayor Acropolis wanting it for the ice skating rink because of his history. But I supported it because of Brick's history with ice hockey. For the swimming pool that's in Bally's, which has a lease that runs another 90 years or so. For the acreage that was available, at which we would have had room for a conference center, for any number of things, including an outdoor pool was there, I found out. Barracks were there. It had a lot of potential for what the money was. And here I am, something like 12 years later, and nothing's been done except, I'm sorry to say, to watch Brick Township, which could be a really quaint place, deteriorate into empty strip malls. So I'm asking, what's going on with the Food Town property? I know Forge Pond Friends had some ideas too.
I'm going to actually have our attorney address this question. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So I know the council right now is really not permitted to discuss this, but I can tell you this. Both the mayor and the council share your concerns. It is a top priority for this mayor and council to deal with. We are dealing with it, and I can tell you that I would expect that in the next 30 days, there will be some public statement or discussion on that property. It's just that tonight it really is not the appropriate time.
Oh, I can well understand that there can be circumstances which preclude having an open discussion, but it is gratifying to hear you say that there will be something forthcoming in the near future. Thank you so very much.
And you were
Thank
talking years and years, 12 years and 6 years. We've only been here for 9 months, so we're working on
I
it.
understand that. I
Yep,
wasn't faulting you.
I know.
And I'm, as I say, I can understand. I wish that other people across this country would be that real about saying, at this moment I can't, but I assure you we will.
At least we're not going to put a tractor trailer up there with a banner on it for you.
Yes, Mr. Brando.
Get him, VP.
Dominic Brando, 12 Commodore Drive. Real reason I came here tonight is I want to speak to the council about some of the appointments lately that have happened, especially a couple at the MUA, which for the commissioners, which two of them which I didn't want, I didn't agree with over there. But they seem to have, the commissioners, I'd like to get the council's any feedback on it, that they bought out a contract of a director who made $120,000 a year and benefits. No one knows what the exact amount is. He had 4 years left on his contract. So I understand if you want to downsize government, I'm all for downsizing government, making it smaller. But then you promote a supervisor to a director, give him a huge raise, and oh, by the way, that supervisor just happens to be the president of the Lacey Democratic Club. And he's run a couple times there also. So I like the ship is sailing, so I'd like somebody to take control and see what's going on. Same as the Housing Authority. We just hired a guy 2 days a week, $50,000. And I'm going to use a phrase that was used here the past few years. What if there is an emergency in Passaic and Brick? Where's his allegiance? Where he's working 3 days a week, making $75,000 plus? Are we paying him benefits? How are you going to get a 40 work hour week into 16 hours? Take out his lunches, take out his meetings he's going to have with commissioners there. What is happening?
Mr.
Somebody
Brando,
take
as you
control
know, right
and-
now, there are appointments from both our administration and the previous administration, and I don't think that anyone on this council, aside from Mr. Fosman,
I'm questioning everybody. I'm questioning everybody.
But none of us We make the appointments, but we don't make the decisions. It is a privately run entity.
I
Have you
understand
gone
that.
to the MUA meetings and asked these questions
Well,
there?
I
think
understand.
that that's the appropriate
I understand
venue.
that, but you know what? The council is the appointing authority, so you gotta take control of what you're appointing there, because to be buying out contracts, to give political favors out, and we've all talked about the political favors, we all know it's been going on for years with back and forth, but there's people not in their homes, people losing jobs, people don't have their homes, they're losing their houses at a record rate, and somebody's gotta get hold of what's going on here. That's all I have, thank you.
I believe you should go to the MUA and state your statements there, and to the Housing Authority. I'm sure you can get all your answers.
Thank you. I wholeheartedly agree with you, Council Vice President. Yes, sir.
William Gallagher, Carroll Fox Road. I just have a question. I don't know, I'm hoping this is the right venue. It has to do with, my wife and I are part owners of 1140 ProMed. It's one of the ones, the buildings that's involved with the Exit 91. And we're in the process of looking at our own parking lot, and we have limited space, and something that has come up in our association meetings that is going to become an issue, if it's not already an issue, at some of these medical buildings, is that the medical profession has become so complicated that there's a lot more people involved now. You know, I know the OBGYN in our building has 3 people for billing. So the parking lots don't have enough spaces. Now we're looking into it with an engineer to try to, how do we get more parking spaces out of our lot? And you could skinny up the lines, but then you're gonna have more people banging doors and everything else. So is there a way for the council to entertain the possibility? Because it's not gonna just be our building. Any medical building is gonna have this issue because of just the billing issues and everything else. There's more personnel there to run a business that it took than 10 years ago. So my question is, can one side of the parking lot be designated as employees to be able to double park? Or is that, I talked to our property management association person, and she almost like cut me off and said, oh no, you'll never be able to do that. But it's a problem that's gonna be broader than just our problem and issue at 1140.
Mr. Gallagher, your best bet would be to come when town hall is open and go downstairs. So right outside of this doorway, there's another doorway that leads downstairs. That's the land use department. Ask to speak with Michael Fowler. He is our township planner.
Yeah.
He would be able to address your concerns and tell you what next step you need to take to,
And
to
if
help
it's
with your
feasible.
problem.
Excuse me?
And if it's feasible.
Yeah.
What you're suggesting.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And just on a lighter note, I did something this year that I didn't really expect to have such a positive impact, and it was something really simple. And I actually wrote down this weekend all the things that I felt like I got out of it that were unexpected. And it was just something very simple. I planted a garden. And from that, I started planting flowers all over the place. Then I started composting, and I became a better recycler. And then I purchased some things to collect rainwater, to water the garden with. I spend more positive time with my wife outside in the garden. All these things that just are a nice surprise to me that I just kind of added all up. I have 2 kids with disabilities. My son couldn't care less, but I can get out there and water the garden with my daughter. I can identify the plants. I can tell her to pick the big tomato. It's just been a really rewarding time. And I didn't expect it. And I'm just looking forward to turning my soil over and doing it again next year. My wife's got me eating hummus. And
You should look into joining the Brick Garden Club.
Yes.
less TV. I didn't watch one play of football this weekend, and I couldn't have cared less and didn't miss it. Didn't miss it, sorry. Nothing personal. But,
Yeah.
There are people in this room that almost fainted just now.
Well, that I didn't want, yeah, I mean, I played sports my whole time in high school, and I was a football junkie, didn't miss it at all. So it was just something very simple, and I got a ton more out of it than I ever could have imagined. So I just wanted to share that and encourage people to start a little garden.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
And I'm like 8 years away from qualifying for this, so you depressed me.
It-
It started sticking. I'm like, oh,
She's
What-
giving them to
what-
everybody.
You're never too old.
She's giving them to everybody.
Especially with 2 children who are disabled in your household. That, for
I know.
you,
The police
is
have come to
essential.
our
And in
home
fact,
very many
you
times,
probably
and
need
they've
an
done a
extra
very
one,
incredible
because
job.
I think you need an
I
extra
need
one.
another.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Slunka.
Good evening. John Sluka, 950 Sylvia Court, Burke, over in Evergreen Woods. I guess I sent the letter out to everybody. Well, everybody on the council anyhow. My letter was actually, the letter went out to Governor Chris Christie, Mayor John Ducey, Council President Susan Lydecker, and I guess an email to everybody else on September 4th. And what I wrote was, the unofficial end to summer has passed and the beginning of autumn activities have begun. Soon all vacations will end and a normal routine of residents of the state will be taking place. In Brick Township, that means the tourists from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania heading home. Fall Sports League have started. Townwide yard sales will take place. Bricktoberfest will have its initial kickoff, and a return to school by our children will be taking place. Yes, autumn brings many changes to the shore area of New Jersey, and many really enjoy this normal mundane change to our daily lives. The one thing that will not change, however, is the assault on the health of the residents of our community. The governor has rewarded many high-powered northern residents of the state with commissioners' positions in various areas, and one such area that impacts over 100 square miles of the state that borders the Garden State Parkways, commissioner positions on the New Jersey Turnpike Authority. Residents who home border the lower 100 miles of Garden State Parkway have no local representation, but suffer the debilitating health impacts of the decisions approved by the NJTA commissioners. The commissioners approved plans that call for the destruction of thousands of acres of woodlands without regard to the residents of surrounding roadway. According to NJA statistics, over 150,000 vehicles travel northbound and southbound each day, and tens of thousands of them are diesel-powered trucks and other vehicles. Now that summer is ending, the impact upon the adults and children alike will grow. School children and their parents stand and await their school buses, and as they wait, their lives are being continually harmed. The toxins of diesel vehicles flow down upon them and cause asthmatic problems, heart problems, eye irritation, other cancer-related illnesses. That is the thing that hasn't changed with the end of summer. Thousands upon thousands of diesel vehicles dump toxins into the air upon the residents of Ocean County. An example of the life-threatening impact is happening here in Brick as hundreds of school children wait below the flows of toxins from the trucks that pass by just yards away. As the actual summer ends and leaves fall from the trees, the impact of the disease-causing toxin grows even worse. The director and commissioner of NJTA say they don't have to do anything because they have their NJTA rules that state that they do not have to do anything because the roadway isn't any closer to the residents. The roadway may or may not be closer to the township's houses, but the impact of the destruction of the greenery is obvious. Once again, one must be reminded that the NJTA officials and other turnpike representatives are trying to hide the real problem of the parkway environmental destruction. The IARC, the National Toxicology Program, the EPA, and the American Cancer Society all classify diesel exhaust as carcinogenic to human, and that the authority officials are basically killing Brick residents. The air pollution from diesel exhaust plays a role in health problems, such as mentioned before, the eye irritation, headaches, asthma, other lung disease, also heart disease and immune system problems. The only area of the state that allows diesel trucks without pollution walls is where thousands live from exit 1 to exit 105 of the parkway. These commissioners are the overseers of what the NJTA does, and like any board of directors, will be held criminally responsible for their inactions when it is proved that Brick residents have been physically harmed by the toxins that the commissioners allowed to be cast upon the residents in the area. It is time, and actually well beyond the time, that a pollution and sound wall should have been erected. No one can reverse the damage that has already occurred to the lives of the children and their parents, but waiting weeks and months more can only harm the residents and the community even more. It seems that the mayor and the council of Brick Township support its residents and in their life-saving struggle, but it seems that the leaders in the rest of the state have almost no regard for the residents of Brick Township. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Michelle?
How's everybody doing? Michelle Spector, Evergreen Woods. I wanted to ask the mayor administrator if we could write another letter and to the Turnpike Authority, and this time we have a bunch of facts which we can verify and points that we would like to make. So it's a little bit different than last time, and also ask to use the money from the no net loss for like a cost sharing of the wall, as part of the cost of the wall.
The first part, the letter, we can do. Actually, I just on Friday, the latest letter went out to Manelli because.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, because you guys asked us to do that.
With the resolution.
Yeah, with the resolution that we all passed, that
Oh,
we're
you
upset
did
about it. But the no net loss, it has to be used. That has to be used for trees. That's for plantings.
You can't use the money from that in lieu of.
No, because the whole thing is like they took down trees, so you have to replace trees. That's the purpose
Yeah, but
of
money, what I'm saying is the money changed hands to go for trees. So instead of, the trees have not been planted yet. So I'm saying, can't that money from the trees that we're not getting, we can't have trees.
No, we have to give them our tree planting plan, and if it doesn't include Evergreen Woods in this round, because we have not been able to come to, okay, do you want to?
Yeah, actually, the Attorney General made a determination that state funds cannot be planted on non-government lands under our no net loss. So,
Yeah, but can money in lieu of trees from that?
No, the
Can
grant,
they make an exception because of what's
the grant
happened?
is very specific with what it will fund. It will fund plantings on public property. So we can't take funds in lieu of, we can't say instead of 10 trees here, can we give them the money for 10 trees? The funding doesn't work that way. They're very specific parameters on what you can spend and how you can spend it, and it all has to be approved before the trees are planted. So we can't flip-flop that way with this grant. We can't flip-flop really with any grant. None of them work like that. They're very specific to what they're funding.
Okay, well, anyway, we're going to send you all of the facts and how they skirted around what they should have done and they didn't do. We've documented everything. So we'll give you that, where we got the references, and to please send that. We'll send you everything.
can you, yeah, could you like draft it in an email
Yeah,
with all the
yes,
references?
that's what-
Perfect.
That's what we're gonna
Okay.
do. And I just want to read this, and our own association pretty much sold us out. They drop kicked us now. They're not going to do anything else. They sent me an email, they're not doing anything else for this. They've just pretty much done. They're getting a guardrail, they're happy with it, whatever. So we were going on our own here, so. Part of what the Morozic was saying was that the meeting centered mostly on safety issues, fencing, guardrail, and reforestation. The wall, as in many of the other meetings, was probably not even discussed. So they lied to us pretty much the whole time, so. We looked at some of the paperwork for the project, and there was no air monitoring or noise quality tests were done anywhere in our area. We're totally excluded from the area, even though there were three projects are all going on in the same area. The cost of doing a wall, because they don't want a wall on the other end, now we find out, so it would be like 5/8 of a mile. So per their they have like what they will allow, 50,000 per residence. So there's at least 100 homes that are affected, so that's $5 million. So we fall within their parameters of what they will allow. And according to their own procedures, what they're supposed to do, they never met with us. That's one of the things that's in the procedures. They're supposed to meet with whoever's affected, and they refused to meet with us. They would only talk to engineers, that's what they said. So there are a lot of things that they did wrong that they should have done and they didn't do. So we're going to send you everything, and everything is going to have references, and we have to get that wall because it's unlivable. The leaves are coming down, it's going to get louder, and there's nothing to keep the fumes or the noise. It gets much louder in the winter, even if there's, the summer traffic. It's just, it's obnoxiously now that the leaves there's nothing there to help you at all. So we're like, we're dying over there. So please help. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone else from the public wish to be heard this evening? Yes, Ms. Briggs.
At least you sat close.
Melanie Briggs. Councilman Fosman, perfect. Love it. I hope everybody comes into Town Hall and gets a copy of this. Tells you all about recycling. And I'm glad, very happy to see it finally. I know most people won't believe this, but I used to be a band booster parent. Very calm, cool and collected band booster parent. I, as a past booster parent, want to thank you because I know what it means to the kids and the parents. My daughter is a product of the band, and I think she's a great representation of it, of the kind of kids that it produces. Now I have to change the subject. I've listened to the people from Evergreen every week, whether I'm here or home. I have enough health problems of my own that I never thought I'd ever have in my life. But when I listen to them putting the fear of God into me that I'm going to have asthma, I'm going to have cancer, I'm going to have this, I'd like to know if they have reports that back this up, not just there's a report that says this is going to do this. I'm tired of hearing it. I'm sorry. I don't want to see any child ever get sick from anything, or any parent. But please, if you're going to keep saying this stuff, bring proof. Otherwise, I'm sorry. It doesn't make sense to me. This has been going on for months and months, and I think, enough is enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to come up to the mic this evening? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comments on that note and move on to council comments, beginning with the administration table. Joanne, do you have anything for this evening?
None for me, thank you.
Mayor, I know you do.
Yep, thank you. I want to thank all of our lifeguards for a successful summer. And Brown for leading the lifeguards, and Dan Santinello, the overall leader. I want to give some of the figures. We had 19 water rescues, 14 water assists, 167 medical aid calls, 7 EMT calls, 3 oxygen administrations, 10 lost people, and 1 disorderly conduct. And the lifeguards handled each and every one of those incidences with success, and I want to thank everybody out there on the beach, the badge checkers, everybody for all their hard work for the summer to make it a successful summer. And the only other thing I'm going to talk about tonight is buy and brick. You probably got that, read the tax letter that was issued by the township that discussed the buy and brick program. And again, I just want to remind you, it's a rewards program where residents earn rebates on their property taxes by shopping at participating businesses in Brick Township. We want to keep money local, Buy in Brick. I want to update everybody on the program. We're still waiting on the final delivery of the cards. We're expecting them any day. Once we receive them, you can come into Town Hall to pick them up. We're going to have them at all of our township events, which I know the council people are going to cover. But events such as Bricktoberfest on October 18th, we will have them there, and we'll have laptops in order to sign people up. But the big questions are, what businesses are in the program? So this is going to be the first announcement right now of what businesses are currently signed up. And we're going to do a real big push for advertising for these businesses. The River Rock Marina and Restaurant, they also sponsored the cards, so I want to thank them for sponsoring the cards, but they're also going to be a participant, of course. River Rock Liquors, Duraplex Windows and Home, the IHOP of Brick, All Pro Carpet Care, Shore Points Driving School, Black Sheep Thrift Shop, the UPS Store, Dr. Kenneth F. Diana, DDS, Jersey Shore Eye Care, Jovo's Deli and Produce, Future Dry Cleaners, The Soccer Post, Salon Milan, Off the Wall Picture Framing and Art Gallery, the Jersey Shore Marina, Barlow and Associates, Decor to Score, and Joe's Service Center and Towing. These businesses and their addresses are going to be posted on our Facebook page and the website. We have a Buy in Brick Facebook page. It's devoted solely to that. These businesses are already on a board. If you have any favorite business that you like to go to and you like to purchase products at or buy meals at, please help recruit them, because if you're going to be spending your money there anyway, you might as well get a little discount on your tax, your third quarter taxes. So please, spread the word to any businesses you enjoy to go to. And also, please follow Buy in Brick on both Facebook and Twitter, and we're going to have the updates on there constantly, including all the new businesses that are going to join, because I'm assuming now that people know we're actually advertising the businesses and they're going to be out there, more businesses are going to want to join. For example, we have everything on here, like I just read. Restaurants, carpet places, eye cares, dentists, dry cleaners. I'm sure they have competitors that want to be advertised as well. So please sign up, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Starkey?
Thank you, Council President. Nothing.
Nothing, thank you.
All right. Councilman Moore?
Yes.
You're up.
Couple things. Football season has started, so good luck to all our teams out there. To the band members, I'm glad everything worked out for you guys, and good luck this year. As a first responder, I'd like to thank the OEM. I think they do a phenomenal job for our town and keeping us safe. So it's very important for us, and especially our citizens, to keep them safe. Just another special note that I do from time to time. In the morning, please give yourself some extra time for our students getting on the buses. Take your time. Be careful. Also, as a good idea, it was brought to my attention, and I know it's been thrown around the council too. All of the homeowners that live on the water, down on Manlocan Road, all the way at the end, even on Princeton Avenue, it's not a bad idea to have your house number on your dock, whether you put it on your bulkhead or on the dock. I know our Marine Police is out there and they do a phenomenal job. God forbid you should get a police call and and they're close by and they're in the water and your number's on your home, it's on a dock. They can get there quicker. Just depends on where the dispatcher's where the call is at. So it's not a bad idea. To our homeowners out there, you might just want to put an extra set of numbers out on your back dock. Time is everything. And other than that, thank you for coming out this evening. And to our BTUMA speakers and our CME speakers, thank you very much for your presentations. Once again, please drive careful, and thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman?
Sure. Thank you. I'd just like to thank Mayor Ducey, the administration, Mr. Starkey, Council President, for working so quickly to get the noise waiver passed or drawn up for Brick Memorial and Brick Township marching bands. As someone who was in band for many, many, many years, it's really awesome to have a mayor and this council to support the arts and who listens to our community when there is a public outcry. The kids, as the band parents said before, they learn the discipline, the teamwork, the leadership skills, and honestly, I can't wait to have both bands back here celebrating their championships after their season's over. So next, I'd like to echo the mayor's sentiments about the Buy and Brick program. We definitely are up and running. We've been promised the cards are in any day, as the mayor said. And if you would like to sign up, if you're a business, you can contact the mayor's office, you can contact the council's office. Anybody would be able to take your phone call and your information and get you signed up immediately. And finally, I would like to wish a happy belated birthday to Councilman Vice President Jim Fosman, whose birthday was yesterday.
29.
I'd like to wish a happy birthday to Eddie Maroney, who is spending his birthday here tonight taping this council meeting. So happy birthday, Eddie. And soon-to-be birthday to Councilwoman Mariana Ponterero, whose birthday is on Thursday. So happy birthday to you all.
Yeah, September 11th.
29.
28.
Councilwoman?
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Brick Elks for their donation. Tonight, that money is going to be used for our Kaboom Playground Build Day, which will be Saturday at Windward Beach at 8 a.m. If anyone is handy with tools and wants to come out, 8 a.m. is the pre-build. We're going to be pre-assembling some stuff, and then at noon we'll be installing the assembled pieces into the ground. And I believe, I spoke with Dan Santinello today, and I believe that donation is going to be put towards food for the volunteers. So please come out and join us on Saturday while we build this community playground for our children with disabilities. The BMAC is, well, first of all, the golf tournament, our BMAC golf tournament is Monday, the 15th at Eagle Ridge. I believe there's still some openings. You can contact the Recreation Department if you're interested in playing. But in preparation for our grant application, we're doing a community survey. We're particularly interested in feedback from the parents in the community. There is a link on the Township website where you can take the survey. When the homepage comes up, you'll see it under What's New. It says Township seeks input for BMAC. If you click on that, it will take you to another page that explains the survey, and at the bottom of the page, there's a clickable link that says click here to visit the survey. I'd encourage all parents to avail themselves of that and help give us some feedback on what's going on in the community. The Ocean County Health Department will be, it seems like just yesterday we were at Summerfest, and now they're talking about flu season, but they're going to be having flu clinics throughout the county, at which you can also get blood pressure, osteoporosis screening, and stroke risk assessment. And if you go to their website, www.ochd.org, it will give you the list of where the flu shots are throughout the county. On Saturday, I attended a fundraiser at Pinewood Park for Liam Marino. He's an 8-year-old boy who's been stricken with cancer. I want to thank the Brick Township Soccer Association for hosting this fundraiser. I understand there's another one coming up that will involve both of our soccer clubs, BTSA and Twin County. When I have that information, I'll make that available. And then there's another event coming up in October, and I'll talk about that at the next council meeting. But I also want to thank the Laurelton Fire Company. I heard from Liam's father, Vincent, that the Laurelton Fire Company came out and supported that event, so I'd like to thank them for their participation in that as well. Tomorrow night at Civic Plaza, Guild Theater Works presents a night on Broadway at 7 o'clock. It's $10 at the door and includes coffee and dessert. And finally, I would like to wish the Brick Children's Community Theater all the best of luck in their new home. This has been a long time coming for them, and very happy that they finally have a place to call home. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul?
Thank you. First off, I'd like to thank the Special Needs Committee for their donation towards the Kaboom. I look forward to working on it Saturday. I got my tools ready, and I'm sure most of us will be out there working. And we look forward to everybody else coming out and giving a hand, too. I'd like to thank Chief Joe and Joe for their National Preparedness Month. Great job and all that planning. It's very important for the town. Thank Robert and Joe for their information on the watershed It's very important for us, our children, our grandchildren, to get the water clean and keep it clean. Thanks to CME for their planning. I've seen that. We worked on that with Planning Board, and they put a lot of time and effort into that, a lot of time. And I look forward to having both of our high school bands up here so we could recognize them with some awards that they'll win in the future. Thursday, September 11th, we have the ceremony, remembrance of September 11th. And if you're available, come out to Windward Beach. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Mariana?
Thank you. I want to thank Deb Welty for all of her hard work for putting on the Senior Citizen Fair that we had last week. It was very well attended. We had tons of vendors out dispensing valuable information for not only seniors, but the caregivers for seniors. If anyone did not have an opportunity to come and visit that event, you can go down and talk to Deb Welty. She did keep a bunch of the information with her. I have a bunch of the information at my office. If there's any questions about social services, specifically for seniors or caretakers in BRIC, we have so much material now to give out that's free information. It's really, really important. So if you or someone you love needs this information, please reach out to Deb Welty, who's our Director of Senior Services. And again, I thank her for all of her hard work because it was a wonderful event. I also want to acknowledge Barbara Clancy, who told me while I attended the event that I look much younger in person. So, just everyone out there remember that. I do look 18, probably 19 in person, what you're seeing on TV. I'll leap right over the stairs. I haven't had my Botox done yet, so. I also want to acknowledge our wonderful presentation tonight, but more than that, our wonderful mayor who took the time to hear concerns of our citizens, which is one of the reasons that I know all of us are sitting in the positions that we are. We want to help BRIC become better. And by Mayor Ducey taking the action as quickly as he's done, it shows the community how much we do care when something doesn't go well for our community. So I want to thank the mayor for his very quick response. I heard him on 101.5. He did an excellent job there. Thank you so much for giving us the ability to let the children play. And it is a worthwhile cause, and I think it will benefit our community. Thank you, Mayor. And that's all I have.
Council President, could I just go for real quick? I just want to thank the council for passing that ordinance, but also here in attendance tonight was Dr. Uzinski, the superintendent, as well as school board member Frank Panucci and Karen Cusinelli and school board president Sharon Cantillo as well. So I just wanted to acknowledge them and thanking them for coming out to our meeting tonight. Thanks.
I'd just like to let everybody know our recycling brochures are in. The recycling brochures are made of recyclables. So you can even throw these after you read it to get recycled. I just happened to stop down DPW today, and they just came in. So I did put some at the back table and some at the information booth outside the courtroom here. We did. I talked to the recycling coordinator. A letter was sent out to the superintendent of schools in order to start doing school recycling, to get a representative from every school on recycling so that the coordinator can meet with them and to get the recycling out to schools really moving ahead. And also the Public Works did put a message on their phone letting everybody know that plastic bags are not welcome in a recycling can. So do not put those in there, and every time you call DPW, you will hear this message just to remind you not to do that. I'd like to thank the BTMUA, Joe Maggio and Rob Carl for coming out and doing that presentation to let everybody know that the BTMUA works with the township. So everybody, they're trying to clean that water before it gets there, worried about the fertilizer and everything before it gets into the Matitaconk. I'm glad we're renting out some of Civic Plaza. We have other parties interested in renting, so we're waiting to hear from them too. So hopefully we can rent out more, because that's goes right for the township, because the building is paid off, like the mayor said. The band, like I said before, I was in a band for 4 years in a marching band, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm glad the kids are still playing, and everybody passed that. The buy-in brick program, I hope a lot more businesses get on board, because we're putting it on the website, like the mayor said, and I believe it's going to be really big in town. I'm going to sign up myself right away for that card, because I use a lot of those places. And that's it. Thank you, Council
Thank
President.
you. I think it was a pretty successful evening. We had a lot of presentations, but we
Excuse
moved
me,
rather
Council
quickly.
President,
Yes.
one thing real quick. The brochures were made by the VOTEC
Yes.
at a cost. They charged us to make these 4 cases of them $148. So we're giving them, they're going to make the brochures for us, sorry, Council President, and trying to give them, and this way they're learning how to do the printing and everything like that. Thank you.
No, I think it's great that we were able to contact them to do it, because then they get to learn the trade. They're going in, saves us a ton of money.
Yes.
And we use our local resources, right? I hope that many of you came out to the Green Fair on Saturday, this past Saturday, held at the Bob Ansett Cultural Arts Theater. We had about 30 vendors come out, lots of members of the public. We had yoga classes, but I really want to thank the members of the Sustainable Brick Committee. They put so much time and effort to make this a really great, successful event. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to everyone that came. We really appreciated it. What the Sustainable Brick Committee does is provide outreach programs like the Green Fair, and provide environmental educational information, things that you could do in your own home, such as rainwater barrels, composting, recycling, all those different kinds of things, as well as township affairs as well, like working with more recycling programs, the solar panels, things like that. For those of you who may need it, the New Jersey Natural Gas is holding an Energy Assistant Day, and they say energy costs can add a significant burden to family budgets, whether a family or an individual is on a limited income or faced with unanticipated financial hardships. There are energy assistant and home energy improvement programs available. Our day in Brick is September 15th from 9 o'clock to 3:30 at the Civic Plaza, which is right here on Chambers Bridge Road. And I have the flyer if anybody would like to take it home. There's going to be a Columbus Day this is a benefit for the Columbus Day Parade being held at Carrabba's on the 13th from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. It's at the VFW Post 8867 on Adamston Road, and tickets are $20 per person. And you can call, I'll leave this with the council secretary if anybody would like to call for tickets. But again, it's a really great event, and food is provided by Carrabba's, so it sounds like a great deal. Many of you are familiar with Angela from Hope and Healing. She's helping the Sandy victims and the people that are still having some troubles and getting back into their homes. We haven't seen her here recently, but she is still here in Brick, and there's some pamphlets in the back to reach her at her new location. So I just wanted to let you know, if you were looking for her, she is still here in town, available for help. And that brings me to the Visitation Relief Center. We talked about September as being Hunger Action Month. They do have a food bank there. This food bank, you can actually bring perishable items. So if you want to bring like turkeys at Thanksgiving, frozen food, milk, things like that that need to be refrigerated, they can take it. And a lot of the food banks can't take perishable foods. What they're looking for now are still more school supplies, mainly colored pencils, markers, and rulers. As they're starting, the kids getting back to school, they're giving me a list of the things that they're coming home with that they need. They need lunch foods like peanut butter and jelly, bread, snacks, juice boxes, things like that. And of course, gently used clothing and shoes, or new clothing if you could do that to help the children get back to school. As the chief said in his earlier presentation, he will be putting up information, I guess on a weekly basis, about how to prepare yourself, your family, your home, and help your neighbors prepare and your neighborhood prepare for any disaster that may come our way. Our next meeting is on the 23rd at 7 o'clock sharp. And I need a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.